that I've said that have been one way or another, through what alchemy I do not know, somehow misconstrued, that it would really take me too long.
I think one of the reasons.
Even if it's offensive, Mr. Johnson.
I don't want to cause offence if I can possibly avoid it.
Then don't refer to them as bank robbers.
Politicians should be careful what they say and they should watch their words and all sort of mumbo jumbo. I don't agree. 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 I don't agree.
Time. It's the best 2 out of 3 heats, and the horse to watch in both heats is Harlan Dean, a horse who didn't run this year until July.
November. Inflamed by the war yell, spurred by the charge. For such is said to be the nature of females, that whatever they view, or even if they imagine it in the mind during the extreme heat of lust, while they are conceiving, just so do they procreate the progeny.
And over the next few sessions, we're going to be together, talking about you growing up, your body, its changes, and a lot more. And I think you're going to find it fascinating.
I've seen them fall from horse, as from grace. A horse they inhabit like a hometown, being half horse. And they are prodigal, they people their return with horses. They have pressed a starving mouse to the blacksmith's anvil. I've seen them, audacious in spirit, swift of foot and trembling in limbs, the sleepless conspiracy of horses, their offices crossed, they were tawny, thwart and weeping. The hour's mare, admired and fatal. A horse is a virile witness who turns informer when his mane is cut. I've seen them, pale garons, those scrumpy minions of toil. The Gaulish cob dipping his long head like a sturdy novice. I have seen mules dragging and ashen their plebeian lingering. Do you see how a boy is a horse, how a horse had it coming? A horse is that well-hung cameo thought stalking my trick bed thoroughly. Horse is an horror, is the fright of your life, the woke corpse commencing to strut. I binge-watch their moonwalk, half afraid and yet. I have seen the horses fall, a bull's head stamped on his harness, the bridle spurned, even his shadow thrown from the saddle also thrown. I have seen them whipped and limping, bearing a satchel of rocks, the outline of a woman in chalk, a leaking stack of Bibles. I have seen them shot. I have read the poems of their killers wailing in a great debauch of petty mercy turds who shit the keks of vigil. I have been invited to writhe, submit, expiry's bride, wringing my hands. The horse is the coming ghost, his young life departing in a spree of silky petals. They grind your advice beneath their hooves. They intend an oblivion dashed on the rocks. Have you ever looked at a horse? Really looked? I had a horse, had a boy, but that was several bright egos ago. I loved a horse like a boring child with pastel crayons and flower crowns. He was rude and able. I could never keep him from his feet. Not one of them. Give a horse its due. Horse is the loved culprit tearing at the traces of your bland care. I have seen them fall from horse as from grace, and I, most piebald bitch, gestate a return. The horse is the thief, is the outlaw assailed. November, the romance of the rose. Redux. A love poem, parried. After Sappho, if you must, being always a situation and rarely a comedy. A rose worked over a solved rose, a rose unfolding like the meagre thrill of salary, a trickle-down rose touted, a haunted rose hyped, an obvious rose decidedly sublime, a poem in which rose is the organising pronoun, the pale pink rose of sinister pride, the blue rose of martyred chivalry, the red rose of insidious prick song, the off-white rose of Nazi smack talk, the yellow rose of hindsight, the black rose of cynical allegory. It was, and it wasn't roses, a kilted tool repeating itself, her inventory of veils. A swag rose, a bling rose, her mouth was a heaven of raw pins as she fixed a rose to her dropped jaw. I saw her, drew the corset of my long COVID tighter. Mongrel rose, dog in the apothecary. Rose as a girl crush a crushed girl, not courtly love, you twit. A rose for chamber lectures, poem as a catalogue of believable roses, everybody endlessly named and ushered, rose of any acted excess, the laboured rose of being understood, volatised tease of a rose, brat rose, trash rose, a laden yokel, a reckoning rose, the wasp mutely humbled by its poser's perfume, a lean obituary rose, rose of straggling iams, I saw her and puked all the boisterous twaddle of metaphor. That is the rose as both the symbol and the gesture. Men are mainly screwing and confused. The doomsday cult of the rose, a rose disowned, the rose avenged, a nemesis, an expert, a patron saint beheaded, a grabbed pussy of a rose.
Grab him by the pussy, grab him by the pussy, grab him by the pussy.
The two-dimensional rose of romantic subplots, the feel-good rose of discount chocolates. That is the long con of the rose, the dusty sulking rose of manuscript marginalia. A stalker's wilting tantrum, a ponderous syndromal flower, a rose of reeling willingness, persuaded, plied, appeased. I saw her, and I, spike moss, the imposter rose of Jericho. O sauntering rose, improperly pleased, O risks rosette, lushly purpose, crutch of a rose, clutch of a rose, grubbing rose, gag reflex rose, the handgasm rose, a stand your ground. A love poem, scattergun baroque, the cheesy decal of a rose, formula rose, rose procedural, rose eternal, foxed erotics of a rose. She was a rose clinician. She sequenced this rose. My desire as a furtive one-liner. It has been too long. It has been too long. Cambridge Morning Pages 2. They blew it up, the maniacs, etc. The devouring, that which eats into memory, that which memory is forced to eat. I learn us from a book, like Faulty Tires English.
I know nothing. I know nothing. I forget everything. I know nothing.
The bird of death, translated as the dead bird by fucking Egypts. This twitching lack, this spinning twig a tongue. Something mulled in the lit mouth, something cooked in the clay of thatched flesh, roused in heat. They sang their winter into the small of our doing bodies. We were cold, so cold. Some rosy-booted moralist kicks me, first in the back of the knees, then in the head. The curd of thought returned as cud. I heard voices, the stones were pleading to see. Could split a tongue we measure in emergencies. The Baedeker cracks along its insolent postilions and nobody asks where the swimming pool is. The devouring is a mouth filling up with forest, is a mouth being led like a lame horse through all the idling libraries of Europe. Where are you from? An asylum broke between two elms, the heavy tendons slashed, a wet log split, the sucked bulbs spat. Tomorrow is another day, a choir of virtuous axes on the road stitched to our staring heads. What they have in spades, a seemly dark embraced in bunkers, one beast with many backs, the snide gape, the hive mind, the hills have eyes, one belly. Butter will not melt in their handiwork, in the coppiced campaigns of a problem halved. You are burnt out, he said. For a moment all I saw was the tree line slick with fire. Torre, for pursuer, and aren't we all pursued? This morning an admiral it shot glyph redly out of season. I braid a wreath, I wash the dog. Dirty, poisoned earth, the crack rocks pale incendiary theme, the jaggery Eden of any given fuck this soil. What a time to be alive! Not alive as such, but pre-dead, grief in the future conditional, preserved inert in microplastics. To exist without hope, without spite, to lay down your lungs, their soft convalescent possibility, under the clouds uncouthly strobing light. You are welcome to the sparrow, to the wren, to the blackbird and his horny lilting. A bird is a bird will outgrouse any tippler's cliche, tilting the stuck day, these monstering flirts, perving the firs. Birdie song, with its sawbone elbows working away at itself. Sweetness, the least of its meaning. To hold the world, not because it is beautiful or because it is doomed, but because the world rushes out through a slit in a gunny sack. The world rushes out through a crack in your swag of scrounged marvel. They name your estates after the trees they replaced. You sit in grief, not so much haunted as riddled, cracked to their strivers rhizome, these cherries, these birches, these larches, this ash. Horse door, the throne whore hemmed anew. Their bleak instead made flesh and aftermath, the shadow cast by desecrated care. Devouring how we concentrate their loss in splintered cantos, speak it out, the inexorable bird, the gnarly politicking of his song, tack tack, take take. In sunlight or in shadow, persecution or reproach, leap from milk and turpentine, the colour of money, the colour of blood, lolly cant that rolls right off the tongue, and all their cheesy weapons aimed, the leash intrigues against the dog, the devouring, swaddling foulness of history. Like, look, fucker, I don't know or particularly care what Kantian aesthetics are. Is it something like that advert telling me to dress for joy? Now there's a polka dot bikini in a polar vortex. It calls me stupid. I'm not stupid. A poem should be thought scalped the wren bent shilling of exquisite survival. What noise does the cow make, Johnny? Dunno. What's a cow? And the duck goes, and the horse goes. Do I look like Ben Fogle to you? The animal is anticipated meat. What's that? It's a hedgehog. Why? Hedgehurst, hedgehens, hedge-humping, hedgebanger, hedge-laureate, hedgelord, hedge-stickler, hedge-fundamentalist. Kid, we are all hedge-hatch, scorn and savoury glittering. That which whitens my nightmare. This flock of respectables, cruising the bone meal, cursing the bone.